Is it going?
It says stream is live.
There we go.
Woo!
Hi.
Hi.
How are you doing today? I just want to first welcome everybody to our Authors Day event, May 25th. It's also doubling as our very first Content Creators Live. So, our very first Content Creator Showcase is now. So, welcome everyone. And I would like to thank our author who is with us today, Belinda Amerman.
Ammerman.
Emmerman.
Yes.
Why don't
Well,
you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
okay. I have been writing since I was 19, and mainly journals. The inspiration came when I was in college, and it was in an interim class that my instructor had invited me to participate in, and it was for all maybe 20 other students who were he thought would make good writers. So from there, I started journaling and wanted to write stories, and was rejected a lot. But what does a 19-year-old know, you know?
Right,
So
right.
I went to college there 2 years, went to another college another semester, and then went to another college for another semester. And I thought, I'm spinning my wheels. So I stopped, went to Colorado, and worked at a ranch. It was a dude ranch where the owner took people on pack trips up into the mountains, and I got to go as cook. And
Oh,
I wrote poetry up there. It was very lovely. I spent a year in the mountains, and that's pretty. It got cold,
I bet.
but fast forward to when I was in my 30s. I decided it was time to finish a degree, and I had a little girl I needed to raise. So I finished up a degree in journalism, and that took me to Western Nebraska, where I worked 9 years on a small newspaper, small daily newspaper. And when I was there, I met a lady named Connie Stairs, who was a Lakota uh, woman, but she followed her heritage, did lots of research. She was related to Crazy Horse, who, if anybody knows anything about the Sioux religion, he was their leader. He was, and it is the legend has it that there's never been a photograph taken of him. So people who think, well, there are pictures of him, they're wrong. When I met her, she told me many stories about her life, and her father, whose name was Mark. He had a feeding program where the Lakota people living in white society in this town where I worked could come and have lunch without paying because they were hungry. He said his quote is, "It this program is for anyone who declares hunger." And so I wrote a story about that. He also was able to, through donations, provide Christmas parties and July 4th parties, and uh, Connie told me so many stories. I had to write them down, and by that, and I wrote positive stories about her and her family for the newspaper, which to her meant I was very brave, because I'm a white woman. She was Sioux, and the way they were treated in the town was quite bigoted, and it bothered me so much.
Right.
And I learned from another book called The Help, and that author said her publisher told her, write about something that bothers you but nobody else. So I thought, well, that's me. Because I wrote and stories about her family, positive stories for the newspaper, they appreciated it so much that when my husband and I were transferred for him to take a job with the railroad in another town, they had a going away party for me. They had singers come, and her father adopted me into their family and presented me with this quilt. A star quilt is a very special honor.
It's beautiful.
Very humbling, and gave me some moccasins that I haven't ever worn. But along the way, I discovered a ghost story that happened in that town. And so I put them together into a novel called Prairie Spirits. Oh, it's backwards. Oh,
oh, it was perfect. It was perfect.
Oh,
I
you
could
saw
see
it?
Yeah, no, show it again. Show it again.
Okay. Yeah, this was the novel that came out of that. And it took 30 years of sending it out old style. You know what I mean by old style: stamp address, self-addressed stamped envelope, postage inside and outside, and synopsis, author biography, that kind of old style thing. That
all of that.
You send it off and 6 weeks later you get it back. Send it off, 6 weeks later you get it back.
Right.
Well, with the advent of the internet, you get rejected a whole lot faster.
It saves time, I guess.
Yeah, it saves time. But there are some links that I discovered called manuscript wants that can be emailed right to your email and query. I can't remember the name of it, but where you can go and find out what authors, what publishers and agents want, and then you can kind of narrow down the places you want to send to get rejected. Well, anyway,
we focus on the positive.
Well, yeah. I wanted to. You believe me. Along the way, I met on Facebook, as a matter of fact, I met an author who had a novel published by an outfit called Level Best Books, and I submitted there and was rejected. But she encouraged me to make lots of friends and authors through Facebook. By doing that, I met another woman who was putting together an anthology and it was called Tales from the Golden State of Mind. And I sent it to her. I told her, I have a story. She said, well, send it. And that's a long story. Short story was I took bone density drugs for too long, and both my femurs broke. And I had to I wrote a story about that. For my church wanted a testimony, and I can't, as you can tell, I can't talk off the cuff very easily. But so I wrote it all down. And so I sent that story to her, and she put it in her anthology. Through that, I met a man named Terry Shepard, who's an author, and he has his publishing company is called Ramirez and Clark. And he said, I can help you. So I went with him, and through him, I was able to get the cover. Let's see, edited, got it edited.
Mhm.
And I got the cover design. This lady who did the cover design, uh, Karen Hall. All I did was send her a link to uh, a saint, a Native American saint named Takawitha. And with that and a few little designs of uh, oh, little designs like this,
Mhm.
she sent me 3 possibilities, and that was it. That was she was as if she was in my mind. Well, I
Mhm.
sent them all to Terry. He put them together, and he said, "Okay, they're ready. And to go on Amazon, all you have to do is press the live button," and I did.
There you go.
And
There you go.
there I was am now a published author.
I mean, I remember that feeling that very first
Oh
time when you
my
push that
goodness.
button, you're like, "Ah." Yes, I remember that. It's the
It
best feeling.
changed my mind. I was no longer just a writer. I'm now a published author.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go. So what type of advice would you have for other writers who want to be published authors? Like, what
I'll
advice would you give them?
find the place. It's called Query Tracker. I just thought of it. And Manuscript Wants. And there you can find agents and publishers what they're looking for. And even though it's there, it still won't be easy. You
Yeah.
know, I wanted to do this, wanted to be published for 30 years. I mean, I was a newspaper writer, of course, but I had to raise my little girl.
Mhm.
And but that gives you writing experience, not just journaling, but writing things that you like, writing about things that you don't care about, but you have to you follow the inverted pyramid, the journalism style. You write the most interesting part first, and then go down. Well, that's for newspaper. For the internet, I don't know what kind of style they use. I have
I
to.
mean, they still, I mean, if you don't catch people right off, like in the
Yeah,
first line, they're
yeah,
gone. So,
yeah. They and some of the news apps I look at, it says it's a 4-minute read. Okay, I'll decide that. If I don't
right.
find out what I want to know, halfway down, you've lost me. And
It's
they
like,
don't,
bye.
but they don't care. They don't
They
care.
don't. They
No,
don't.
no. Good writing starts with good thinking, and you have to be an original thinker.
Right.
And that, I don't know if you can learn that, or if you can just stay off the wall about a lot of stuff. A lot of times I'll be thinking something and I'll just say it, and someone will say, usually it's my husband, he'll say, "I've never heard that before." And I'd say, "Well, I just thought of it."
Honestly, I don't, I think that it's better if you're a writer, if you don't have a filter, because then
Mm.
you can practice this stream of consciousness,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah.
the biggest asset for you
Mhm.
if you are a writer, is to just not have a filter at all.
That's where the journaling comes in. If something in life is just ticking you off and you just want to go twist somebody's neck, you go to the blank page, put it
Right,
down.
right. You don't know how many times people ended up in one
Right.
of my stories.
Mm. Mhm, mhm. And someone I don't like, I'll turn him into a murderer, or I'll kill him.
So, I'm so glad that you were able to come today and talk to
Oh,
us about your process. Like, is there anything that you want to say specifically to the watchers, your readers, the audience, before because I can exit stage and let you have it for the
oh
rest of
no,
your
I
time, which is
prefer
about 9 minutes.
I like you there. So
Oh,
you can go ahead and say, really, really sweet.
I like you there
You're
too.
doing this. I'm so thrilled that you found me. But
You know what? I feel like when you have a certain way of living life and certain
mhm,
interests and just a way of
mhm,
putting yourself out there, then
mhm.
the right people will find you.
Well,
And then you will find your, I call it finding your tribe. That's what I call it. I
hey,
call it
hey, all
finding your
right,
tribe.
yeah.
You're my tribe.
Yeah, yeah, my sister, yeah, my Lakota sister would approve. Yes, she
There
would.
you go. There you
Um,
go.
I had a thought I was gonna give you. The what interests you? Oh, no, don't stop learning. I'm 75, but you don't ever stop learning. There's always something new to learn about. Um, I've learned about guns. I've learned about hunting. I've learned about birds, and I've learned about photo. Well, I was a photog. I'm a photographer also. But
Right.
do you have? Are you lined up with for other writers? Do I need to sign
Um,
on?
no, you still have like about, I would say 5, 6 more
Okay.
minutes.
Okay.
Actually,
Let's.
one of the commenters is retired, I believe, General William
Oh,
Stevens.
ah,
He was actually on our last Authors Day.
oh,
So he's
great.
commenting now. He came to support, so that's awesome.
Well, that's great. Yes, and I'm interested in the military and past wars, World War One and World War Two. And the Holocaust. That
Right,
just I cannot wrap my mind about the horrific things the Israel the Jewish people went through during that time.
right,
So, and the information is right in front of me. I can find out
right.
just about anything that I want to learn about. So,
There you go.
yeah,
There you
I'm
go.
very thankful for to have met you, Kay, and I really do want to participate in the next thing that you mentioned. It was the books galore.
The books galore. The first
Yes.
one is next week. I actually wanted
Oh,
to secure
really?
you. Yes.
Yeah. Well, next week, let's see. I'll have to get with our calendar to make sure
Right.
we've got some medical things we have to deal with my husband. But um, yeah, yeah, would love to do that. I'd love to see your face again. Where are you from in Wisconsin?
Well, right now in Wisconsin, I'm sort of like in a very rural area. But the closest place, I would say, like maybe I'm an hour away from Madison.
Oh, Madison.
You won't even know where I. Trust me, the
Okay, we have
places.
a friend who lives in Baraboo, and
In Baraboo.
yeah, but he's a trapper, and he goes up to Alaska and does trapping and that kind of
Right.
thing. That's the thing. Have a wide spectrum of friends who know things, and so you can pick their brain.
Right, right. So the other thing that I want to announce is that I am now opening up a very special group for past authors who have been on the page for us all to network, and we'll be putting out newsletters and sort of
Okay.
resources so that you guys can learn how to better advertise your books to your
Oh,
readers.
wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a Facebook friend named Debbie Haston. Every Saturday, get on Facebook and she says, "Okay, it's Saturday. Post those links." So
Exactly.
you can I post my link to her because she's not there to try to sell me anything. Just like you're not trying to sell me anything. She just wants to encourage authors, and that's such a worthy cause. It's very
Right.
worthy. Thank you
Yeah,
so
no,
much.
I'm all about like networking and
Mhm,
basically just making friends in the community. Like
mhm,
that's what I
mhm,
like to do. I like to network, make
mhm,
friends.
mhm,
Because I feel like if you have a strong network of friends
mhm,
within the author community, within the
mhm,
content creating community, because
mhm,
we're all
mhm.
on here to try and,
Oh, sure.
reach people and
Uh-huh,
try to connect with readers, connect with
uh-huh.
the people who see our work.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
feel like that builds a stronger bond. Like when
Yes.
you have connection.
Yeah, the name of my novel is called Prairie Spirits, and I'm working on another one. My husband is proofreading it because he's the best proofreader I've ever met, and it's called Secret of Bounty Ranch. And I'm
There you go.
thinking I'm going to be get it to Terry and my cover artist sometime this summer, maybe fall. But I don't want to pressure him because he when he proofreads, he's like he's in his zone. So,
Right, right. Okay. Well, I just want to thank you so much
oh,
for joining us, and I will connect with you.
thank you, Kay. And you're cute as a bug.
Oh, thank
Yes,
you.
you
Thank
are.
you.
How old are, see, this is no filter. How old are you?
I'm 42.
No, you can't.
I am. I'm
No,
42.
no. Bless
Yes,
your
I am.
heart, and I will pray for you. We are both my husband and I are very devoted Christians in a little church, and so
Yes.
um, my prayer list gets long, but you're on it.
Amen. Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm how do you say? I'm in one of the Church of Christ churches congregations down here where I live.
Oh yeah, the Church of Christ. I went to a Church of Christ, and the singing was just quite exuberant because you didn't have to have instruments.
You know what? They sing with passion and they sing to
Mhm.
God. That's what they do.
That's what they do. Yep. Well, th- thank you so much. It was a work of the Lord that brought us together.
Amen.
And,
All right. I'm gonna let you go because we have
okay,
about
well,
2 minutes to the next author.
hey, and bless all the authors in your lineup.
All right. Thank you. I hope that you'll be able to stay a little while. If I
Oh,
know you
okay.
have to go, but
Well, I can stay a little while. Yeah,
okay.
and I can listen to what the others say. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. You just, you can watch from the page,
Oh,
like
okay.
when you go to the page.
Okay.
All
Ta-ta.
right. Thank
As
you
they
so
say in
much.
South Africa. Ta-ta.
Ta-ta.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you guys for watching. We are about to bring on the next author again. I want to thank everybody for joining us for our May 25th Authors Day event. This is actually doubling as the very first Content Creator Showcase 2025. So if you will give us 2 minutes, we will be transitioning into the next author. Okay. All right. I just want to thank all of you guys for joining us today. This is our very first content creator showcase. We just had author Belinda Ammerman join us to speak about her book. And we also have want to thank author William Stevens for joining us and all of the other people who have joined us to watch. Today, we are now going to discuss some topics on intellectual property and internet safety while we're trying to see if the other author is having some technical difficulties. So we'll start that in about 2 more minutes. Okay, so here we go. Before we get started on our topic, we also have a raffle copter with a cash prize for those who win the contest. I will be posting the link in the chat for everyone to click on. And the winner will get a cash prize, a cash gift card that you can use. And you could choose to have it either mailed to you or you can have it digitally sent to you for the winners of the giveaway. So the first topic that we're going to be discussing is something that is very dear to my heart. And we will be discussing it not just today, but over a length of series that will be free and available um, in the new Facebook group that we will be posting soon after the event ends. And the first topic that we're going to discuss, we're going to go over the pillars of what internet and intellectual property security, like the 3 pillars that are most important. And this is for everyone, really. It's for readers, it's for writers, authors, digital content creators. If you're a content creator at all, it's very important to know these things. Um, so the first pillar that we're going to discuss very, very briefly is it is trademark. What you would want to do is, especially if you're a content creator and you're building your own brand, is you want to possibly invest in trademarking your brand. That's just one step, and you can go to a government website to do one of those things. And the next step, the second pillar that you would want to do is licensing your work, especially if you're going to be creating a program or creating any digital or even physical products that you would want to give out. And this is, again, if you're an author, if you're an artist, if you're a digital content creator or any type of content creator, if you're an educator, you're going to want to license your work. And then on top of that, you want to copyright your work. And this is especially important, especially for authors. I mean, it's important for any content creator, but copywriting your work is something that I always make sure I do with my writing and with my books. So copywriting is something that you can do, basically getting a copyright from the government website. You can also protect your work by investing in an ISBN from, I believe it's Bowkers, where you can actually purchase ISBNs to place on your books and your written works. So those are some of the topics that we're going to be going more in depth with later on. And I want to go on to discussing the Rafflecopter and some of the gifts and prizes that you can get. Let me see if I can open it up right here. And while we're getting that ready, we're going to take a 1-minute break to set it up. Okay. So if you look down in the comments, can you hear sound? Are you able to hear sound now? Okay, so if you look down in the comments, we have a bunch of wonderful people who are here to support. We'd like to welcome Susan. Thank you for showing and showing support. What we're going to discuss, there is a Rafflecopter right now, and people who participate get to the chance to win a cash gift card as a prize. We're also discussing a short topic today as an intro before one of our other authors joins the stage. Our next author is K.A. Masterson, and she has a wonderful book that she would like to share with us. And again, for those who are just joining us, this is our Authors Day, May 25th. It is also the doubling as the very first Content Creator Showcase 2025. And one of the topics that we briefly discussed, just a tiny topic, I call it a tiny topic because we'll be turning it into a series for later on, is intellectual property and internet safety. And we'll be discussing that over the period of the next month or two. So first we want to welcome K.A. Masterson.
Hello.
Hello. How are
Hi.
you doing?
Okay, I'm okay. Thank you.
That's good. I'm so glad you were able to make it.
I know, I'm so sorry. It's the time difference is so wacky for me. Like
No,
here
no,
it's
no, no, no worries.
EST and over there it's PST and I was so confused and I'm
No worries.
sorry.
No worries, no worries. So I just want to say we've had some wonderful discussions here today. We had author Belinda Ammerman. We discussed a little bit about intellectual property and internet safety. I call them tiny topics because they only take like 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, like 2 minutes. And it's going to be something that we're discussing over the next month or two, how to protect your intellectual property and how to protect yourself digitally, since we are now in a digital age, right? So
Right.
those are topics we're going to be discussing later. And just some upcoming events. June 1st will be our very first book club, Books
Ooh,
Galore. Yes,
all right.
where we invite authors for just like 2 or 3 minutes, not long, but like to read, if you want, just like a short paragraph of your work.
That's cool. That
Yeah.
sounds awesome.
Yeah, and it starts next week, so that's
Nice.
exciting. And then on June 8th, we will be having a special surprise speaker, and then on June 15th, we'll be having a Juneteenth celebration with several
Oh,
speakers who have been invited and who have accepted who will come and join us. So that's the schedule for this coming month so far. And now I'm just glad to thank you for coming to join us, and I'm
thank you
hoping
for
that you.
having me.
Yeah, thank you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is K.A. Masterson. I'm a fantasy and paranormal romance author. I've been writing all my life, but I've only been publishing since 2016. I have last year I was able to publish 5 books, which everybody finds incredible. And the reality is I have a secret, but I'm not going to share. I'm not going to share it yet. And this year I've already published A Moment with the King in April, and June 1st, my second book of the Soul Eater series publishes, Soul on Fire.
Oh, nice, nice. That's exciting.
Thank
So,
you.
are you having like an arc reveal?
I am. So it's currently in the arc stage. And arcs are a hit or miss sometimes. I'm very careful with selecting my arc team. But I write in so many different styles. Like I will write A Moment with the King is kind of like a medieval romance, but Soul on Fire is not. It's more like a contemporary paranormal romance. And so there's so many ways to go that I have to select. It's hard to select arc readers specifically for those types
Topic.
of books. Yeah.
Right, right, right. Yeah, finding the right type of reader for your book is really important, because I made the mistake once of choosing somebody who was like into legal work for to read my fantasy book, and they were like, why are they talking like that? I'm like, they're fantasy characters.
Right.
Hello.
And that's the biggest difference between A Moment with the King, which was written with that kind of language that is more old school, more
Right,
antiquated, versus
right,
Soul on Fire, which is very contemporary. And one of the characters is in the military, so there's some
right,
flowery language, whereas there isn't in A Moment with the King. So
right,
yes,
right.
we've got to be very selective sometimes with our art readers.
Exactly. You don't want to choose somebody who's into like contemporary mystery for a Victorian novel. You don't want
Right,
that.
right, right, right. So
So So how long have you been writing? What is your writing process like?
So I've been writing since I was like in ninth grade, which is eons ago. Um, but what I've done is I've gone back. I never throw out my writing. I write, I save it, I walk away when like my ideas are done.
Right.
And what I've been doing in the last several years since 2016 is I've been going back to these writings that I've started, these stories that have meaning and great characters but have not been developed. And I've been working on developing those novels. And so that's my secret. That's why I was able to publish 5 books last year
Wow,
because
okay.
I had already the bones, kind of like the framework of these novels, and all I was doing was adding the details. And
Right.
so, I it worked.
There you go. That's 5 books in 1 year, girl, you are prolific.
I know, I know. If only it came to 5 figures. I know. That'd be
If I had a dollar for every word I imagined I write.
exactly, exactly. If I got paid what I pay my editor for every word that I write.
I got
So
paid for every word that I discard and delete from the books that I write.
that's right. That's right. So
Anyways, so what advice would you give to like, new writers or people who are aspiring to become writers or publish?
just write. I write every day. I have a very busy life. I'm a middle school teacher by day. I'm an author by night. I'm a
There you
mom.
go.
I am a wife. I have 4 pets. And I find the time to just write, even if it's bad, even if it sucks, even if I'm like, oh my gosh, I could do so much better. I will. I
Right.
will do so much better. It just might not be that day or that week or that year. I published 5 books last year because I did not throw that away.
There you
I,
go.
I kept all of it, but you gotta write because if you lose that habit, just like anything else, you're not gonna do it. There's always going to be an obstacle, a challenge, something that's getting in the way, always, no matter what.
You are
So
so
just
right.
write.
You are preaching to the crowd right now, honestly. Honestly. So why don't you show us your book, one of your books?
All right. So, A Moment with the King is part of the Callissian saga. And the first book is Rose of the Winds.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I know. Rose
Gorgeous.
of the Wings. And it was published in about 2017 through a publishing company.
Okay.
So I coughed up $5,000. It took me 2 years to pay the $5,000 off
Oh my
so that they
goodness.
can then publish it. So it finally published in 2018 and I hated it. I hated the editing that they did. I hated how there were so many parts that were haphazardly edited. The only thing I loved was the cover. I thought the cover was beautiful.
The cover is gorgeous.
It really is. They did a wonderful job with the cover, but everything else I felt like I threw away my 5 grand. I
Oh
kid you not, the only check I have from them is for $40.
oh my gosh.
That's all I made. That's all I made. They didn't help me with anything. And I was a new author. I was so excited. I loved this. This book was my favorite. It was just so awesome. And they did not do it any service.
I'm
So
so sorry. Oh,
I know. I was under a 2-year contract with them. So when my 2 years was up, I wrote them a letter, told them I'm taking everything back. And they were okay with it because that was the contract. I got an editor to edit everything. She gave me wonderful feedback that made it even better.
right.
And because everything is mine, everything, the images and everything was mine, I was able to keep the cover. That was the only thing I loved about this publishing company.
Right. Right.
And it is a really, really good book.
There
So
you go.
A Moment with the King is the second book. But I was having trouble trying to upload my paperback cover for it. So it just uploaded yesterday because my book cover designer was on vacation. So I'm hoping to get it before my book event in Atlantic
Okay.
City.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of glad that you brought up that topic because I think especially for, when writers first start and they, want to publish, there's so many scams out there.
Oh
We'll
my
pay
gosh.
you pay us money, we'll publish your book. That's no, that's not how the process works. You don't pay money to get your book published. They
With
pay you to publish your book. That's how
with
it works.
5 grand, I could have published 5 books.
If anybody is telling you that you have to pay them to publish your book, run. Run away
Yep.
because
Yeah.
that's not how it works. So, and then also with the editing, there is a resource. I haven't talked about it on this page yet, but there's a resource called the Internet Writing Workshop, and it's run through Purdue University, and it's completely free. It's an editing service, and basically it's a group of writers through Purdue University where you basically peer review and peer edit each other's work. And that's how I learned
Oh,
how to edit, because I had other people in the group saying, that's not how you edit. This is how you edit. And this is what you want to edit. And this is the notes that you make when you are editing. They taught me how to edit. And then you go back and you assist each other with editing each other's work, and it's completely free.
what is it called?
The Internet Writing Workshop, and it's through
Mm,
Purdue University.
sounds interesting.
Oh, I love it. Anytime
I
I
love
write,
learning.
I do too.
I
Like,
do.
learning is my obsession, honestly.
Yes.
I'm
If I could
obsessed with
finish
learning.
paying off my master's degree, I'd get another one.
Girl, me too. Me
But I gotta
too.
finish paying that one off first. That's what my
Man,
husband
if
said.
I
I
could
can't.
if I could pay off my master's degree, I would just go get my PhD and call it a day. But hey,
There
that's
you
another
go.
life.
See? Yes.
Another wife, another story. But so why don't you tell the readers exactly who is your favorite character in your book?
Oh, in this one, I don't know. I don't know if it's the female main character. Her name is Adeline. She is the
Mhm.
pirate queen. So it's a pirate adventure
Cool.
novel, and she is the pirate queen. So she was born into nobility, but her father gave her everything she wanted, and she wanted to be a pirate. She wanted to be out in the ocean, and she wanted to be out in the seas and whatnot. And so her father sets her up with a young pirate who teaches her everything in the ocean, like everything. And so she has this double persona. And the only reason the father did that was because she has a terminal illness. So he thought she's gonna pass away and die at some point. So I'm gonna give her everything she wants.
Right.
But they find a medication that she's on, and she lives a lot longer than her dad even knew. Um, and so she becomes the pirate queen.
Okay.
She has this very independent personality that I enjoy very much. As a person with mental health issues, I thought I really um, related to her because though her illness was physical, it was still something that was holding her, that could have held her back,
Right.
and it didn't. And so me as well, like it could hold me back. I could succumb to the overwhelming problem with mental health, but I
Right.
didn't. And so I got my master's degree even after years. So I was 31 when I got my master's. I had graduated with my bachelor's when I was 21. And so
Wow.
because of my mental health issues, I had to wait. And then I got my master's degree, but I didn't start working as a teacher until like 5 or 8 years later because of my mental health. But I find myself at a point where my 30s were better than my 20s. My 40s have been much better, more successful than my 30s. So I feel like I'm at a point where I relate very well with Adeline because she does not die in the book.
Okay. So we are assured of a happy ending.
A happy ending, yes. It has
Thank
a
you.
happy ending, yes. There is an HEA, yes.
Thank you. We love
There is
happy
an
endings.
HEA, yes, yes. Not all my books are HEAs though.
Oh, okay.
I know my editor hates it. She's like, "Why do you do this?" I'm like, "Somebody needs to die." And she's like, "Nobody needs to die." And I'm like,
She
"Yes,
said somebody needs to die. I feel that.
somebody gotta go." So,
That
but
is
that's not
so
all my books.
funny.
That's not all my books.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. Well, what would you say to your readers? Like, what would you, if you could just, because if they're watching now, what would you say directly to your readers?
I could not have gotten this far without my readers, without people who would love my characters. Obviously, I'm in love with all my books.
Right.
Obviously, I love my characters and I love the way I write and I love all of that. But if it weren't for the readers, I wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't
Right.
cling so much to, I can do this, I am successful. I may not be making the money I want to be making, but this is not my career. This is my love. And there are people who love it just as much as I do. So thank you. Thank you. As an
Right.
indie author, thank you. Because without my readers, they would just be half written stories in my Google Drive.
Right. Right. So I just want to thank you so much. We're
You're
actually
welcome.
going to, yeah, because it looks like the last author had a technical difficulty. So we're going to
Oh
have a
no.
surprise little, if you would like to do a little author panel.
Oh, I'd love that.
Okay, let me see if I can invite. Hey, do you want to
Yes, I'm still
join us for
here.
an author? There you go. Hello. So
Hello, Ms.
since it looks
Masterson.
like
Hello.
So since it looks like the
Hey.
last author is having technical
Yeah.
difficulties, I wanted to invite us to basically do like an author panel and discuss a topic that I think is very important and what your thoughts are on it. Especially as authors, we are very, very intertwined with the subject of intellectual property
Mm.
and content security. So, if you could just give like your short thoughts on that as an author and what your experiences been.
Well, I'm very new to it. Uh, what I've been taught is that once you've written it, you're automatically copyrighted, so you're protected that way. With this artificial intelligence and what my publisher written, that they could artificial intelligence could steal your intellectual property and use it without your knowledge. And I
Mhm.
don't know how to combat that. I'm going to have to ask
Right.
him more questions about that.
Right, right. You
So,
know, so that's really interesting that you should say that
um,
because I myself have experienced, like in the past, I've had websites steal my book. Like
oh,
sometimes I Google, like in the past, I used to do this more often. I don't do it now because it's really frustrating. But like I would Google some of my books and all of a sudden
mm,
there some random website that's making money off of them and they haven't paid
ah,
me. They have not paid me.
That has been my experience as well.
that's
Really?
raunchy. Ugh.
Yeah. And so
Really
now, like as you're
frustrating.
saying, in this new digital age with AI is now basically
Mhm,
taking all of
mhm.
our work and learning from it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there's so many ways for us to lose our intellectual property.
Right,
Like it's
right.
really
right.
disturbing.
So I was reading an article the other
Ugh.
day of these authors, one specific author who in her book, after it was published and everything, it had the writing prompt she had shared with an AI, with a like kind of like
Mhm.
a chat GPT. And
Ooh,
the prompt said, write my novel in the style of so and so. And
huh.
she had left the prompt in her book. So instead of paying for an editor
Oh,
to pick that up and
hmm,
deleted it, and it was an uproar. Like her readers were shocked. It was so awful.
Do you
hmm.
see
And so
that scandal?
right, it was just this huge, I cannot believe that, but we wouldn't know if she hadn't made that mistake. So that's very, for me at least. I have also found some of my books on websites, and I find who is the person responsible, the organization, the name, where's the email, everything. I email them, I send them warnings, I give them the phone number of my attorney and the whole, but there's so many. It's like a web, like
Right,
you pull
Hmm.
this and then there's this one and there's this one, and before you're like, I'm not reaching anyone.
right.
Somebody's making money, probably in the dark web,
Right.
that I'm not making from it. So
Right.
it's very frustrating.
Right. I've been researching and studying on, content security, intellectual property, and just how to protect yourself digitally in terms of being a content creator, being a writer, being an author. No matter who you are, if you create content, you need to make sure that you know how to protect yourself, because in this day and age, anybody can come along and steal your work.
Yeah.
So you have to know. And I've been studying on that. So that's another topic that I really would like to go into. So if you guys have had any other experiences.
I'm so very new. I haven't.
You haven't had your books spread on websites yet. You're so blessed.
I know.
No.
That's
No,
great.
not that I know of. It's just I've just
You should
had one
probably
in an
Google it,
anthology and
Steve.
I published one. So
I stopped Googling too. I stopped.
I said because every time you Google and you see it somewhere else and you're like, you didn't pay me.
It's so frustrating. It's like, I could be making more money. Are you serious? I could be getting my master's degree. Are you saying
And
that?
then you wonder, are they making money off of are they making money?
Yeah,
How come they're making money, but I'm not?
Right.
Right.
I've even found my books on eBay. And I'm like, is somebody selling I don't know, because maybe they bought the book from me and now they're just trying to sell it. I don't know.
Okay. I mean, if it's a physical book, that's something
I guess.
different. Because once it's a physical book, it becomes their
not mine,
physical property.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
Yes.
but it's different.
Well, everyone
when it's
wants them fine.
Which brings me back to beta readers and ARC readers. Like, you really have to trust your ARC readers, because they have a digital copy of your book, not the final draft, but nonetheless, who knows what the final draft? Nobody. If you're getting a copy of a book from a website that's free, and you could just read the book, whatever, they're not going to know that this is the beta ARC or final draft. They just have my book.
Right.
So I've become very selective of my ARC readers, and I call them my CAM team. And those are the ones I always go back to. Like, I keep I know the ones that are putting the reviews out. I know their email addresses. I reach out to the ones that I trust, not everybody, because you can share something with everyone, but you can't trust everybody. Right. And it took me a long time to learn that. I've only learned that in the last 2 years. I was just excited that people were reading it. Right. But excitement is not enough. Excitement doesn't protect your work. I know. It really doesn't.
I mean, when you are a writer, when you are a content creator, the first thing that is most important to have is a lack of trust. I hate to say it like that. It sounds so jaded. It sounds so jaded. But trust me, if you trust everybody, there was a scandal on Facebook where many authors were reposting. I was assisting with the reposting, where an ARC reader had actually just started handing out the digital copies of the book that she had been given.
Oh my gosh.
That is so scary.
Yeah.
So I have my editor has a watermark on the digital copy of my books for the ARC reading or the beta reading, and she has a watermark that says ARC copy. In every single page, it says ARC copy. So I feel a little more confident. That might be. I mean, if it's being sold on a website, it's very obvious that the watermark is there, and so it's very obvious that it's. But still, not every reader is honest. Not everyone has the integrity of respecting the author and their work, their craft.
Right. The first thing that you want to do, and this is something that we're going to be discussing in topics like over the next 2 months, is you want to watch behavior patterns. Number one, that's the biggest thing when you're trusting your work to whether it's a person, whether it's a website, whether it's an organization, it doesn't matter what it is, you want to watch behavior patterns. And the first indicator that you want to look for is, number one, do they have something that written policy that protects your work? Number one, do they have a written policy that protects your work? If you give me your work and you give it to me with the intention that I'm editing it, that I am, critiquing it, is it protected? Does it belong only to you? You want to know what those terms and
Mm.
conditions are. Number one. Number two, if
Mhm.
you're giving it to someone who's editing or just reading and providing a review, what is the confidentiality policy? Are they saying your work will be shared with no one else? Your work belongs to
Mm.
you. You always want to look at those are behavior patterns, but we don't think of those as behavior patterns because you have to
No, they
read,
are.
right? But they're behavior patterns. They're just in written form. So you
Mm.
always have to look at that. So
Yeah.
those are two of the most, and again, we'll be going over those in the next couple weeks. But yeah, I've had, so over the last, since I would say 2015, 2016, I've had so many instances.
Mm.
People would try to come to me to, get intellectual property from my writing, from my life. Since way back in 2016, this has been happening to me. And so I've had to research about it and learn about it in order to
Right.
gain the experience to protect myself.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's so important.
I have a lot to learn, I think.
We all have a lot to learn.
We just can't just write and enjoy writing and plotting.
You
If
can,
only
but then
You gotta know
you
all this
can,
other
but
stuff.
when that's
know,
done,
all this
then
other
there's got to be
stuff.
other things that
if
you gotta worry about.
if I could eat a bucket of ice cream and never gain weight, right?
Woohoo!
Oh. Okay. Point made.
So my I always tell, I have two sisters. I'm the middle child. So
Ah.
my older sister and my younger sister, we get along very well. And I always tell them, I'm like, I wish that I could just write. Just write. Let
Mhm.
somebody else take care of
Mhm.
everything else. Let somebody
Yeah.
else do the arc and do the beta and do the
And
marketing,
then
which is
promote and
awful. And
Right,
do, oh my gosh, yeah, I would just be so
yeah.
happy. I would be
right,
in a cabin up in Maine, overlooking in the mountains, overlooking a lake, and I'd love that. And that's it. And somebody else will take care of
Oh
everything.
yeah.
But that's
right,
that's not what
Like
indie
Craig
authors
Johnson.
do.
That's all he does.
right, right,
Right,
right.
see? Or Stephen King. That's all he does.
Yeah,
There
right.
you
Yeah. He
go.
just
Uh,
he
yeah,
he churns them out and everybody else takes care of everything else.
There you go.
If only,
that's
right?
that's not how indie authors do it. Not yet. Not yet.
But I think it's not impossible. I feel like
I
if we
agree.
band together and if we support each other and if we create a community, we can do
Mhm.
it. We can
Mhm.
do this together. We
Sure.
can.
I agree with that because it took me, again, it took me a long, I've been doing this for like 10 years. It took
Hmm.
me a long time to understand that when I help other indie artists,
Mhm.
I benefit too. Like we
Exactly.
become a community where I'm just looking for not the popular artists who do book covers or they do headers or they do breakers. I'm looking
Mhm.
for the little guys that need the help,
Right.
and
Mhm.
so I have found
Mhm.
great artists who give me exactly what I want,
Mhm.
and they're affordable, and I know that I'm helping them and they're helping me, and we've
Mhm.
built this network of indie artists and creators, that we do build. I don't want to call it a trust, but there is a level of vulnerability when we share
Right.
each other's work, like
Right.
Mhm.
our creations, but because they're also creating,
Mhm.
and there is that vulnerability. And I always mention them in my novels. Always in
Right.
the
That's
front,
Right.
right.
I say book designer and their name, header and
Yeah.
breaker by so and
Right.
so,
Right.
editor,
Exactly.
this, because it's so, for me, it's so important to give them the
Acknowledge it.
merit that, right,
Mhm.
I did not write this book by myself. I needed
Right.
a book cover.
Oh
A
yeah.
designer. I needed breakers. I
Yeah.
needed headers.
That's
I
another
needed
thing
an
I
editor.
learned. I didn't know I needed to have a book cover designer. Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
Design it. Go
I used
ahead.
to I used to use the KDP ones. The ones where
Oh,
you can make your own cover. Oh my
oh
gosh.
no.
When I
Ah,
looked at it and I
Oh
was
no.
comparing it I was like, "Oh no, I gotta hire somebody
Oh
that'll do them."
no.
Right, because that's not my art. My art is not book cover. It's not Photoshop. It is not
Right. Right.
creating breakers, right? I'm a writer.
mhm,
My
mhm,
craft is
mhm.
in words, not
Sure.
designs. And
Right.
so
Mhm.
Right.
I've managed to develop a network of trustworthy artists, that because we're all sharing our creations, it
Sure.
makes us all kind of like we're pooling, like
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
we're all together in this. But if you do something that affects my art, it's going to affect yours as well.
Mhm.
Right.
That's a
Right.
good
So
point. That's a very good
Right.
point.
Right. I think that is so important. Like you said, just building a community of people where you have this understanding that, look, my intellectual property is valuable to me, but it's also valuable to you. Because if you uplift me and I uplift
Mhm.
you, we can build this foundation and get out there
Right.
together. We can do this. We can.
Right. Mhm.
right. I had
So,
a book cover designer who was wonderful. Oh my gosh, he was so great, gave me everything exactly the way I like. These book covers were beautiful.
Mhm.
He disappeared.
Oh,
I
no.
paid him, so I paid him for a book cover, and then I would get a second book cover for free. So I jumped on that deal,
Oh, that's nice.
ghosted me,
Oh,
for like a year. And I
wow.
really needed, so I had this book one cover, and my book two cover would have been free. That was, and I couldn't find him. He just
oh,
ghosted me. He
no.
and all over social media. I was looking for him,
Oh.
and I needed this book too. Like I
Mhm.
needed this cover. And one of the artists who did my breakers and my headers, I said, could you help me out? Like, this is what book one looks like. Can you? And she really did a phenomenal job.
Wow.
That's
But
good.
I ripped this guy up, this other cover designer, all over my social media.
Wait, I
Oh.
think I think I saw I think I might have seen your post on that. I think because that was
All over.
around like a month or a couple months ago,
A
wasn't
couple
it?
months ago, yeah.
I think
Oh.
I saw that
Oh
post.
yeah. I was livid because then I reached him and I was like, dude, you just blew me off. Like you owe me. You owe me a
Yeah.
book cover and I need to get this
Right.
published. And he was like, yeah, I will do it. We touched base. I shared my ideas. He shared his ideas and then boom again. And that's when I decided I'm gonna blow you up online.
Mm.
That's what I'm
Well,
saying, that when you build this network of creators and artists, it's a vulnerability and there's
Mhm.
this give and take. And if you
right,
Mhm.
drop
right,
me, I'm gonna
Mhm.
drop you too, because
right,
your name is in my books
right,
as the book cover designer and you blew me off.
right,
So
right. Hey,
all my social medias, all
let me
my
tell
social
you,
media sites.
the funny thing about the indie author community is that we are rabid when it comes to if you do us wrong. Like remember the I told you how that one ARC reader had been spreading around books?
Oh
Like
yeah.
we blew her up all over Facebook. But our next author is here, so I want to pause the
Yay.
panel so that we can do our interview with her and then we'll
Sure.
invite her onto
Sure.
the panel.
Nice.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm so glad to see you.
Hi, nice to see you.
So I just want to welcome you to our Authors Day, May 25, and it is also doubling as our very first Content Creator Showcase 2025.
I'm
So,
so happy to be here. It's my first live, so thank
okay,
you.
yeah. So we've had two other authors on, author Belinda Ammerman and author Kay Masterson, and we had like a little panel. And if you would like, you can join us on the panel after your interview. So that's
Sure,
open. Yeah.
sure.
So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
So, my name is Elizabeth Chase Williams, and I am the author of the Mount Mook series. And that is a fictional small town where I have created some characters who interact with their world. So, my hope is that the series will grow and become bigger as time goes on. Right now, it is a trilogy where it features two people, Charlie and Drew. And Charlie is a single mom who swore that she would never find the man of her dreams. And of course, she happens to meet Drew, and they have a starting relationship, and she's just not sure. So she says, you know what, let's do a friends with benefits kind of a arrangement.
Ooh,
And she
spicy.
starts, I know. So it has a lot of humor. I believe it has a lot of heart, where you have the connection of two main characters where they discover each other, but it has a lot of spice.
Okay,
So
okay.
you have to like
So,
that to like this.
so why don't you show us the cover?
Sure. Well, I have two. I have my annotated copy.
Oh,
That's the cover.
that is
Yeah.
very
Isn't
pretty.
that pretty? Yeah.
That's very pretty. I
Yeah,
love
I think
it.
so too. Yeah. And then my other two are, I kept the series continued, so it's the same, they just keep
Okay.
going. And then the third one, the final,
It's the same couple?
it's the same couple.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
I am very happy with my cover designer. She was pretty amazing to keep my series
Very
uh,
consistent.
very consistent. Yeah.
It's
And
hard to get a consistent book cover.
I know. And it was hard for me to get like the little patch of gray in his hair that I wanted.
Right.
That was really hard to do. And it seems like such an easy thing, but making sure it's in the right spot for every cover,
Every single time.
So, anyways, he grays as he goes on. So,
Okay.
it's because he's
So,
stressed. No, he's
so why
good.
don't you tell us about your writing process? Like what gave you the inspiration to write the story?
So this is going to sound just, I will tell you, I probably started writing more seriously 3 years ago, and all I did was I wrote short stories. So I started just writing spicy short stories and showing my friends, and all of a sudden I had 30, and they said, you should make that a book. And I'm like, I don't think it's a book. And so I sent it to somebody, and they went, this is just spicy story. This is not a book. So I had to learn how to write in my genre. And so I took a step back and went, am I going to actually do this? Is this something I really want to do? And I thought, you know what? I need to tell this story. To me, it's just something I had to express it. So I decided to look at the books that I love and decided how to learn how to write romance, which is a skill. And people think, oh, it's just easy, you just pump them out. No, there's actually a formula, and to me, it's a skill.
Right.
And so I looked at because I wanted it to be a trilogy. I was very certain about that. So I looked at different trilogies and how I liked how those plots unfolded. And I looked at Hunger Games, and I said, you know what? I like how the Hunger Games plot kept me engaged through all three books, because I didn't want it to be three standalone happily ever afters. I wanted the story to
Right.
be a trilogy. And I didn't want it to be 50 Shades of Grey. I was, because I know that's kind of, well, maybe just write that. And I thought, no, I'm just going to do this. So I actually took Hunger Games, dissected it, took everything. It's all in a spreadsheet because that makes sense to me. And I plotted out my story based on those beats. And then I layered in romance beats, and then it just poured out. So,
Wow.
yeah. So that's how I did that.
That's
Yeah.
a very interesting way to sort of plot out a book. That's
I know.
actually a
And
really good idea. So what were some of
really,
the themes that you focused on from the Hunger Games that really inspired you? Like if you could just name a couple.
like the bad guys close in,
Yeah.
that, to keep the tension high.
Mhm.
But often in romance, it's the third act breakup, they call that, where there's that tension. But I wanted to keep it moving quickly. So even though the couple has that moment that, oh, are they going to not make it? How do you do that 3 times? Well, you look at that type of an adventure series, because they do it, right? You're not sure,
Right.
are they going to win? Are they not? But how do you keep
Right.
it fresh? So dissecting that. So I actually have like my 10 beats per book, and trying
Mhm.
to keep it fast. So that's what I'm getting feedback on, is they find my books they're easy to read. They're fast paced. They keep you like hard to put down type of, that's the feedback I'm getting, which is good, because that's what I wanted. I wanted you to feel that pressure of, I'm not going to let you go. Like, we're not
Right.
going to have a moment of, okay, well, not just sure where this book is going. I want you to feel like you can't put it down. And
Right.
so far, that's what people are telling me. And that's what my goal was, is to keep it fresh. So I guess I have this romantic book with the spice, but I didn't want it to be all spice, and I didn't want it to feel stale. So,
Right. There you
yeah.
go.
Mhm.
So how long did it take to write the whole series?
So I published my first, well, I plotted it out and I had it first draft within months. It just poured out.
For the whole series, for all 3 books?
The 3. And
Wow.
during book 1, when that was getting edited, my editor said, you have to write a prequel. I have to know because she's a single mom with a 16-year-old son. Where did he come from? So I do a little hint about it in book 1, but she's like, I need to know. So I'm like, what? You want me to stop and write that book? She goes, yeah. So I thought, okay, fine, I'll write that one. Well, that one took me like a week. Like I thought, because I knew the story. You have to know your characters and their backstory.
Right.
So actually, I have 4
How many
books.
words was it?
That one's sitting around 50,000, maybe. No, 40. Maybe that one's 40. I'm sorry,
40.
I should know that up by heart, but I don't. Yeah. So
40,000 in a week. You must have just written.
I
just
sit and it just comes out. I don't know why. It just does. But that's because I'm plotting. I'm not a pantser. So once you plot and you know what the next scene is, you just write it. And then you're like, you can fix the dialogue and the grammar and all that later. That is not the purpose. I just have to get it out so I know, and I'm making sure I'm following my plot lines. And then I'm like, okay, so let's now go through it again, go through it again, go through it again. Then maybe I'll listen to it, because with a very awful narrator through Word. And actually, my favorite one is Tessa. I don't know if anybody else does that. And when they're writing, but I will have the Word read aloud, Tessa voice read me my book. If I listen to it, I go, oh, I said it many times. And it's not going to be perfect. And I'm okay with that. But I want it to be as polished as possible before it goes to the editor. And my editor's very wonderful. So I was very lucky. I got them all published a month apart. So they're all
one
out,
thing that's awesome.
Yes.
Wow. I can't imagine 40,000 in 1 week. That is amazing. There's one thing that I used to do back in the day. When I would write something, I would actually send the doc file, to Amazon Kindle, like how you can download a text file to Kindle. And then I would have it read it back to me I don't know if it still allows you to do that, but that's how I used to do it, because it was safe. It wasn't through AI. It wasn't like my stuff was going to be stolen or anything. So that's how I used to listen to it while I was driving, to make sure it didn't sound horrible. The only problem is that it only reads up to the part that you have put in there. So then it stops. You're like, wait, more. No, because now I'm driving. I can't write.
What I found was, even though I've read it several times, sometimes when I hear it, there's parts I still cry. And I'm like, it means something to me. And I think if it's still hitting that chord and it still has that impact for me, then I'm like, okay, I'm okay. And if you don't like it, it's fine. If you don't start it and you don't want to read it, put it down. It's fine. But this is my passion. This is my expression. So I have Troy that is now off to college. So I think he needs his own little story told. And I'm writing book 5 right now, which is still Charlie, but she's met all these women and they have a book club gone rogue. And this came to me in the night. And I did the first draft and I've been tweaking it. But I laugh out loud, because these women are like, they just taken book club to a new level. So I'm hoping that readers, because I'm thinking that's what I would want to read. And that's the other thing is I read a lot. You
have to when you're writing. You have to.
You have to,
it's
because
like it's replenishing the well.
Yes. And also I know what I like and I know what I get stuck on. So I know when I'm reading or listening to certain scenes, if it doesn't sit well, I go, okay, well, I'll be careful because I don't like how that sounds. And that's the author has that thing. I'm thinking if somebody read mine and they're like, I don't like how Elizabeth writes that, that's okay. But I'm trying to tweak my craft based on what I like to read and
Read.
listen to. And I do
Yeah.
listen to a lot of books as well.
You have to write what you enjoy, otherwise it won't come out.
Exactly. And there's so many options. It's not like there's not an abundance of books. Like, so I figure there's a niche for everybody, but you have to know what you like. You have to know, what
Right.
you think maybe readers are looking for. And anyway, so yeah,
Right.
I write.
So if you had one thing before we get back into the panel, if you had one thing you wanted to tell your readers and one piece of advice you wanted to give to aspiring writers.
I think for readers, well, first of all, readers you should start with Charlie's Confession if you're looking at my series, and I would do the ebook because then you don't have to worry about being in public and going unless the cover's not look spicy looking, but sometimes people go, oh my goodness, what? So if you can keep a straight space, then sometimes it's easier to read in an e-reader if you're a reader for this genre. And I call it spicy. So I always want to know, people that read spice, how many chili peppers would you give me? I still want to know. And then for new writers, what I would do is I'd probably started just doing the little stories just to get used to writing and looking at the way it flows out of your mind. And don't go, I want to write a novel first thing. It can be very daunting. And I think it's okay not to start there. But if you did want to, my one, if you're like, I have a book in my heart and I want to express that, then I would get a book coach. And I have a book coach, and thank goodness I have him, because some days when I just don't know, and he's very adamant, you write every day, you produce, and he's like 2,000 words minimum a day.
Right.
Now, do I do that today? No, I did that when I was writing my series because I was really trying to get that going. And now I'm more, I've backed off a little bit because it's spring and I'm trying to get the flowers in, but I think,
just the fact that you were able to write that many words in like just a week or so is amazing to me. So,
well, that's first draft, right? Like it was a dog's breakfast. I don't think it's not a polished book. It's just a first draft, and you just gotta kind of get it out. And then you go, okay, I have a plot hole here and I need to fix that. And then you just polish it and polish it and polish it. So I also believe that an author journey requires the story, or like the creation of the story, like the story forge, where you just kind of get it on paper. Then there's the booksmith, I call it, where you're creating a book. So, you're starting to polish it, edit it, you're getting your cover going, you're trying to put it in the right format, and you are sending it to beta readers, that kind of stuff. So I think of those as different parts of the journey. And then, of course, you have the marketing and advertising.
Right.
So much fun. And then I also consider reader relations a separate part, where you're trying to, develop your newsletter, and you're reaching out to people that are reading your book and you're saying thank you. And you're trying to get your art copies out and things like that. So that's different. So that's how I compartmentalize this very unique way of publishing when you're self-publishing. It is, when you're an indie publisher, you have to think of it like a business and try to imagine, okay, what am I doing? So I actually label those. And I have a schedule, and I go, okay, I'm working on the third part of my company today, which is getting social media posts out. Okay, I'm working on draft 3 of this. That is Booksmith. So that's the second part. So, okay, I was able to do half an hour of that today. Great, check that off. Okay, how many words did I write today? And I have spreadsheets, and I guess I'm weird like that, but I think it's kind of quirky.
I mean,
Funny.
if it makes you write 40,000 words in 1 week, that's not weird. That's amazing.
That's just because I have a lot of stuff in my head and I have to get it out. It's yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to thank you so much for joining us. And now, if you'd like, you can join us on the panel.
I would love to. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, you guys.
Hello,
Welcome
nice to
back.
meet you,
This
Elizabeth.
is author
It's
Elizabeth.
really nice
Chase
to meet you.
And I've sent both of you friend requests on Facebook. So
Oh, wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you.
So,
Okay, I have to say, Elizabeth, as I was listening to you, I was texting my sister. I'm like, oh my gosh, you got to see how organized. You guys think I'm organized? You have to
Really?
listen to this woman. She's got checklists, spreadsheets, book coaches. And I was like, who wants to be my book coach? That was awesome. I am so impressed.
Yeah.
I am not a planner. I am definitely a pantser. I'm just writing as it goes. The plot carries me along. The characters talk to me and they do everything. I'm very impressed. I'm telling you.
I get mad at my characters. Like, you're not supposed to do that, okay?
right.
Follow the plot.
Yeah, sometimes I kill
My
them.
characters don't
Sometimes I
listen
kill
to
my
me.
characters. But, you know,
I
not
cry
always.
when I kill my character.
I do too. When you were saying how you read it back,
Yep.
read your book again, and that you still cry, I am like that too.
Yep.
You are, yeah.
I'm like that.
I just
Yeah.
think, well, isn't that the point, right? You don't
It
want
is.
to lose that. And some people get tired of, oh, I don't want to read it anymore. I'm like, I'd read it again. I'll read it tomorrow.
Yeah. And
I
I
love
do,
my
yeah.
book. And I love my characters, you know.
Right,
So,
right. Yeah.
mhm.
So one of the things that that I think is like super important is just sort of brainstorming off of each other, because like your idea of spreadsheets, I'd never thought of that. And if it can make me write 40,000 words, I will do it now. Like now.
A book coach, I'm telling you, a book coach, that's awesome. Reminding me, did you do your 2,000 words today? Did you do your 2,000 words? Like, yeah, I can do that. I can get somebody to do that for me.
Yes. I think well, first of all, he gave me the spreadsheet to start, and then I've been tweaking and modifying it. But he gave it to me for a character profiles. And I know some authors, they interview their characters and then they have an idea of, okay, so they don't make a mistake of, oh, their eyes are blue and all of a sudden they change to green or something. You always
Right.
remember what they are.
Consistency. Yeah.
You know, like that consistency is really important. But this character profile goes into, where did they go to elementary school, middle school? Like, where did they have their education? Who are their parents? What are
Right.
their names? What's the birthday?
Right.
How many siblings do they have? Even if you never mention in the book, you could make an offhand comment. So you make I have that. And then I have secret things like, well, because I write spice, so secret fetishes, like, and I put that down so I don't forget. And then I have a whole section on emotional intelligence and like and things like that. So when they get nervous, what would they do? What's their quirk?
Right.
And then when I start plotting out the book, so I do that for each character, each main character. And then when I start plotting the book, I actually make a fake cover. So I have some inspiration. And then I plot out, okay, so where are we in time? Where are we in this town? Because I have like a little place. You probably already have a map of your world because you're writing fantasy, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then mine's not a fantasy book, but I still need to know where the place is. And you still need to know in relation to how long does it take you to get to the grocery store? Like,
Right.
because you don't want to have the reader go, 1 second, they were half an hour away. And
It needs to be consistent.
I would pick that up as a reader. So I don't want my readers to go, that's weird.
Right.
So then, and then I plot out, okay, here are all the beats, like the 10 romance beats you have to hit. Then where I think the main topic would happen, then I have a little bit of the plot already outlined. I have where it happens, so if it's somebody's house or a coffee shop or whatever, and then I have a quirk that I need to hit. So I like my thing for the first book is I have a very opinionated cat. So I don't want to overdo it, but I want to make sure she's in there because she has her own personality, but also like you want to make sure you're doing that humor enough that all of a sudden, the cat just gets forgotten. But I'm thinking I need to layer it. So that's how I plotted it. And then I might shift it a little bit, but I try to keep that. So, and the reason why I like a spreadsheet is because you can have all the tabs.
Right.
So each character gets a tab, each book gets a tab.
Right.
I know.
So
So it's like a lot, but I can help you. I can help you.
There's this one writing platform. I can't remember. Is it called? It's huh? No, not Plotter. It's the one where you can open up different screens. You can actually have trees of character arcs, and I cannot remember the name for the life of me. But what do you guys think about, basically writing applications that are supposed to help you organize your work?
I mean, again, as a pantser, like I'm not planning any. I have a thought. I have a scene in my head, and so this is how I fall asleep. I take melatonin at night, and I think about scenes in my head. Now I have a very stressful. I teach 7th graders. Okay, in urban city. Okay,
You're
so I'm in an urban district.
Oh, no.
I teach 7th graders. Okay, I am a team leader, so I lead a team of 4 other teachers. I don't want to be thinking about that.
No,
right.
So I have conditioned myself to think about a story, think about a scene, think about what's coming up next, and then I fall asleep to that. So if I have something new, I'll write it down the next day, and then I'll just write and whatever. And then I'll come back. This is what you were talking about, Elizabeth. That's my forge, right? That's where I started all off. Then I'll come back and add those details that are needed. And then I use Google Keep to keep up with my book. So I keep notes of like the eye color, and I keep notes of those quirks, and I keep, and then when I go back to read, so before I send it, I'm done. But before I send it to my editor, I go back to the beginning, and I'm reading it all over again to make sure that I didn't miss anything that I really needed. And sometimes I delete scenes, but I never get rid of the whole scene. I open a new note on Google Keep. I cut that scene and I paste it in my Google Note because I don't know if I'm going to use it in another book.
Exactly.
Maybe I'll use it somewhere else. So I'm like, nah, don't throw out your writing ever.
Never.
Don't
No.
I have to agree with that, because like there have been times when I've done the same thing. Like you remove pieces, and I'm sort of, I feel kind of like it's almost like a hoarder mentality, but I can't.
It absolutely is.
Because I'm like, I might need this. I might.
And the thing is, you poured your heart and soul into it. Don't delete it.
Saying. Like, okay, it didn't fit in this book, but I know there's got to be a book somewhere.
Maybe 10 years from now I can use it, I swear.
Yes, you never know. So having all those spreadsheets and stuff, that is very, very organized.
Right.
But it just doesn't fit with that. Like, I'm just jumping right in, and then I'll backtrack and add those things.
Right.
Nonetheless, it sounds like you can get so much accomplished.
So one thing I wanted to ask you guys, what would you say is your greatest weakness when writing? Mine is adding detail. Like I'll be like, she did this and she said this and they did this and then they did this and they got shot and then they ran and then people read it and be like, but where were they? Well, where were the trees? Where were they? That's my weakness because I get into the action and the
Mhm,
dialogue, and then I
mhm.
have to go back because in my head it seems obvious. Like there's a car, there's trees, there's streets, like,
Mhm.
and I forget that I have to, detail it. So that's
One,
my
one
being.
comment, for my second novel, my editor doing the developmental editing criticized my white space. And my background is journalism. To me, white space, you fill it with pictures or,
Right.
copy. To her, what she meant by that was dialogue that you didn't know what they were doing, what they were saying, what they were wearing, and you had to include all that. Well, that was educational for me. So I had to go back and do all that before, that took a lot of time because I
Right.
had a lot of white space. And that was a new term for me in this genre that I'm writing, paranormal mystery. So
See, for
Yeah.
me,
that's
it's the
the
opposite. I put too much.
ah
I put too much detail. Like I want my readers to see what I'm seeing. And because
This is
it's
a movie in your
fantasy,
head.
right, because it's fantasy, because it's
yeah.
paranormal, like I want
Mhm.
them to see what I am seeing. And I was I mentioned it the other day to a friend of mine, and I said, my male readers are tough. They don't like what I write. Like they just don't like my romance. And it's like I think men's vision of romance is different than
It's
women's. I
just
mean,
different.
it's just different.
It's different.
But I had a reader tell me, you know what it is that you do too much, you add too many details that break up what's happening. So it breaks up the dialogue, it breaks up the action. There's so much self-reflection and introspection of my characters that I'm breaking things up. That's what I'm saying. Like I have to delete these scenes
Yeah.
because they were just there to me. They were important, but
Mhm.
they were not important in my book.
Well,
They
you,
were
Um,
you
not important to my readers
that
but
makes
that's
because
the
sense.
when
knack. That's the
right,
knack you have to have so that you get the detail, the action, and that it goes quickly.
right, and that
Right.
it
Right.
flows,
Yeah.
it flows naturally,
Flows
so that
naturally.
it's right, so it's not chopping up my
Yeah.
my paragraphs.
Sure.
And it was the only suggestion this man made that I actually agree with. Everything else,
The
I
last
was like,
several
yeah,
books
I
I've
hate you too,
read
man.
have the characters have so much internal not dialogue, but internal thoughts that are on paper. I sometimes get bogged down in that. And I think this book got published and that was in it. And I'm thinking, well, okay, maybe some characters do need internal thoughts and we need to know those, but I think it can be overdone, way
Yeah.
overdone.
Mhm.
I think the problem is if your internal thought process is making you stand still as a character in a book when
Yeah.
there's a guy with a knife behind you, then
Yeah,
logically
yeah,
you're gonna die.
yeah. Kind of Shakespearean, where it takes the person's been stabbed and has a half-hour soliloquy.
Right?
Yeah.
I might be so the younger generation might call me basic, but I cannot for the life of me read that first book in the Rings by God, what's
J.
that,
J. J. R. Tolkien.
I tried and it was 50 books of trees and I gave up.
You know
It
what
was just
stopped
50
me?
pages of trees.
You know what stopped me with The Hobbit? He had hair growing on the top of his feet.
I mean,
I
I
thought,
can deal with hair on feet,
no.
just make them move. Make them do something.
Yeah. And that he's famous. Oh, he's really revered.
The movie was better. That was the one time that the movie was better. The one
I
Yeah.
time.
agree. I agree.
But I just want to thank you guys so much for joining me here again. Next week begins Books Galore, the book
This
club
will be
where
fun.
where authors will get to take just 3 minutes, not too long, to read a tiny excerpt of their book.
I like
So-
this
That's
because
awesome.
I didn't have to drive 2.5 hours to Dallas
oh
to
my
meet all
goodness.
these authors.
I know. So, oh, that's right. I'm also afterwards I'll be posting the link for the group because, you
Oh,
know, for
good.
networking and stuff so that we can
Thank
all
you.
connect in the future.
Wonderful. Thank
So,
you. It's awesome.
So if you guys are interested in that Books Galore, just, you know, DM me. You have my contact.
Oh yeah. Woohoo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So good
Thank
to meet
you.
y'all, and
Yep.
you've been
It's
very
wonderful to meet
educational
you.
for me.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, ladies.
And
Bye.
bye.
Bye. Bye.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us on our event, Authors Day, May 25. We will be back next week for a guest speaker who has already said that they will join and speak with us, especially on a surprise topic. On June 8th, we also have another guest speaker who will be speaking. Her name is Deshawn D. And on June 15th, we have a number of speakers for our Juneteenth event ahead of June 19th. So we have a lot going on, and it's going to be very exciting for the next month. And I hope that you join us. And thank you for joining us today for our Authors Day, also doubling as our first content creator showcase. Thank you.